This is Oracle, written by Craig A. Falconer, narrated by Stephen Barnett. Chapter 1. Lately, nothing had come easily for Judy Fletcher. One disappointment seemed to lead effortlessly into another. Even her pride and relief at earning a good degree had long since given way to the realization that a perfect storm of market forces and efficiency-boosting technological changes now stood firmly in the way of her career plans. At the last interview she managed to secure, a recruiter told her that while she was an outstanding candidate, there were over 200 applicants for the post, with many of them having decades of experience. The catch-22 situation of having neither the required experience nor the opportunity to gain it left Judy feeling increasingly desperate. It was financial desperation that had brought her back to her old university a few weeks earlier. Rather than studying, however, Judy was there to participate in a moderately well-compensated medical trial. The one good thing was that she had experienced none of the irritating and uncomfortable side effects that around half of her fellow guinea pigs reported during the group discussion phase of the latest weekly check-in meeting. There was little doubt by now that she had been randomly placed in the placebo group, which was a rare positive turn of events in what had come to be a fairly depressing life. When the meeting came to an end and the attendees began to filter out, Judy asked everyone, and no one in particular, whether they knew of any other trials starting soon. No one spoke up or even directly acknowledged the question. She wasn't convinced this meant they didn't know, though, since times were so tough that compensated trials were almost as oversubscribed as job postings. "I've been doing apps," one man eventually said, speaking quietly. He was around Judy's age, early to mid-20s, and the lack of redness around his eyes hinted that he was in the lucky placebo group too. "You know, like beta testing? There's one starting tomorrow that pays better than this." Judy's eyebrows rose. "For an app test? Seriously?" The man pulled his phone from his pocket. "I know, right?" he replied, navigating to the relevant email. "Usually they pay almost nothing, but look, 2-week trial, non-disclosure agreement, blah, blah, blah. And here's the pay. See?" If Judy's eyebrows were raised before, they now felt like they had to be halfway to her scalp. "What's the catch? And how did you find out about this? Did they post an open call for testers? Do you need experience?" The man shook his head. "I do a lot of app testing, and I got an invite for this thing because I'm always diligent with my feedback. It said I could share the invite, but that the entry requirements for any more testers are pretty specific. One of my buddies got rejected because his income was too high, and the dude stacks shelves in a grocery store. My roommate got rejected because he doesn't spend long enough on his phone." An ironic grin crossed Judy's lips. "Hey, if they want people who are poor and glued to their phones, I'm overqualified." "Then I guess you might as well give it a try," the man laughed back. "As for the catch, I don't know much about this. I just know the app is called Oracle. It's some kind of next-gen digital assistant that is supposed to give me more control over my life, and it's going to auto-install on my phone at midnight. They say it's going to be life-changing. If you want to try to sign up, you can scan this QR code and answer the questions. If you pass the first stage, it'll probably ask for permission to scan your phone to make sure you didn't lie about your usage and stuff like that. It did for me." Judy's phone was already in her hand. "The big tech companies already know everything about me anyway," she shrugged, more than willing to make this privacy-related trade-off when a potentially tidy profit was on the line. She scanned the code and watched closely as a short survey appeared on her screen. "Thanks for this," she said. "No problem," the man shrugged. "I'm Kevin, by the way. I hope you get in. And, say, if you do make it, maybe you could spot me a beer after next week's meeting? Celebrate every win, right?" "I sure as hell hope I get in," Judy replied, her focus so fixed on the survey that she both missed a not-so-subtle dating cue and neglected to share her own name. And if this really does give me more control of my life along with the payoff, talk about a win-win. Because believe me, I want all the help I can get. Without another word, the two went their separate ways at the exit. If Judy had been looking anywhere but at her phone, she would have seen the suggestion on Kevin's face that he was understandably taking her myopic interest in the app trial's intake survey as a total disinterest in him. Judy completed the survey very quickly. She took care to be honest, knowing that the app would know if she was lying when it came to the second stage of the selection process. When, not if, she tried to assure herself. The 30-minute walk home passed slowly. Spending money unnecessarily on a bus ride, let alone a cab, was out of the question, and each step brought only greater impatience to learn whether or not she could participate in the app trial. By the time she reached her run-down studio apartment, Judy was wondering how much longer her application could possibly take to be settled one way or the other. She had only her second job interview of a long month coming the next afternoon, but her lack of experience and the sting of successive rejections left her with little optimism on that front. This app trial, and whatever other benefits the supposedly life-changing digital assistant could offer, really could be well-timed to provide a crucial lifeline. Like magic, her phone chimed as soon as she opened the door. Judy looked at the screen. "Good news. You are eligible for a full background check," the message read. "One more step, and Oracle can help you claim the life you deserve." Judy smiled from ear to ear. The pop-up notification explained that now that she was in her place of residence, Oracle would like to scan her phone's content and all related accounts to ensure she was a good fit for the trial. She hit the yes button without a second thought. A progress bar then began to stutter and stop and crawl its way from left to right. Judy watched closely at first, but soon realized that it was going to take a little while. She looked away as she took off her waterproof jacket. As usual, she kept on her thick fleece sweater, knowing she would shiver half to death in the frigid apartment if she changed into more traditional indoor wear. She then warmed her hands on the kettle while making a cup of tea. Just as it came to the boil, a loud and unfamiliar tone emanated from her phone on the countertop. Judy looked down immediately. While the trilling tone didn't sound obviously positive or negative, there was no mistaking the one-word message that filled the phone's screen. "Congratulations!" Judy grabbed for the phone so quickly that she almost knocked her mug off the counter. Right now, though, she wouldn't have even cared if she had. Because at last, something had gone her way. She was in. Chapter 2. When Judy confirmed that she had read an extensive list of terms and conditions, which naturally she hadn't, her phone returned to its regular home screen. A new app icon had made its way to the top left, displacing the web browser that usually took up that prized position. The icon was a striking image of a metallic figure sitting on some kind of throne, holding a glowing orb of light. Without hesitation, she tapped to open Oracle. It wasn't yet midnight, or even close to it, which was when Kevin had suggested the app was going to auto-install on his phone. Judy wasn't sure if she had somehow been approved to start early, if the midnight hour in question was perhaps 3 hours ahead on Eastern Time, or if her phone so far only contained a limited version of Oracle. All she knew was that it was worth trying to get in right away. An orientation video instantly appeared, paused on a "Welcome to Oracle" title screen until Judy hit play. From there, a very slick presentation played. Its purpose was to give her a brief rundown of what Oracle was and how it worked. Ordinarily, Judy wouldn't care how a digital assistant worked so long as it did. As soon as she had heard a few sentences about Oracle, though, she was more than a little intrigued by what was going on under the hood. "Do you ever feel like life is happening to you?" a gentle voiceover began. Do you ever feel like you are always missing one piece of every puzzle and one answer to every question? With Oracle, those feelings are about to become a thing of the past. With Oracle, the future is yours to claim. Oracle takes the guesswork out of your day-to-day decisions. Oracle grants you the ultimate advantage of seeing one step ahead. Judy watched and listened with rapt attention. The video moved quickly through an array of features and menus, each of which raised her curiosity ever more. The core suggestion here, underpinning many of the conveniences the app offered, was so startling as to be almost unbelievable. Land your dream job, the voiceover continued. Find your golden needle in the haystack of modern dating. Embrace the abundance you were born to enjoy. Oracle's ability to illuminate the path ahead before you take your next step can deliver all of these benefits and more. And as for how, at last it was coming. Here at Oracle, we don't believe in the power of magic. We believe in the power of data. Our patented AI-powered algorithms can analyze billions of data points every second, providing live information on how the imminent future will play out around you. By partnering with major hardware manufacturers and internet service providers, Oracle legally utilizes the unique benefits of real-time sensory and behavioral data to give you the upper hand. We have cracked the code. For too long, this kind of data has been used to sell you unneeded products with crude demographic profiling and behavioral nudges. Now, we are flipping the script and putting the power where it belongs, in your hands. Judy remained utterly transfixed as she watched the remaining moments of the video, which amounted to a quick-fire montage of an actor using the app in situations where its apparent abilities truly would be life-changing if the reality lived up to the hype. When the video ended, Judy was even more excited than she had been a few minutes earlier. This all looked so good. In fact, she was no longer even thinking about the significant payment she would receive at the end of her trial. Now, she was wondering just how many benefits she could squeeze out of Oracle while she had the chance. Chapter 3. After the video introduction was over, Judy realized that the full app was indeed available now. She still didn't know if this was related to a time zone misunderstanding or if she had somehow gained access earlier than Kevin. It didn't really matter, she figured. She was in, and that was what counted. One brief piece of footage in the video had shown a demonstration of a user asking Oracle for information about someone they had met in passing, without exchanging contact information. Images on the screen made clear that Oracle utilized location and proximity data to identify the person in question, whose biographical and contact information was then displayed. The privacy implications of this feature had crossed Judy's mind for the briefest of moments while she watched, but she didn't pay the issue much thought. After all, the video said Oracle had partnered with hardware makers and service providers to legally access billions of real-time data points. The person being identified had agreed to the terms and conditions laid out by the companies they bought products and services from, and those companies were thus within their rights to sell the data to Oracle. There was no case to answer. "I was talking to a guy called Kevin around an hour ago," Judy spoke into her phone. "He's the one who told me about this app trial. Can you give me his number, a social media contact, or even just his last name so I can find him and let him know I got in? I want to say thanks." Incredibly quickly, Oracle spoke back in its pleasant and melodic voice. "Unfortunately, you will be unable to converse with other participants for the duration of your trial period. I'm sorry about this, Judy, but rules are rules. Is there anything else I can help you with?" "Oh well," Judy thought to herself with a shrug. She had tried. "I want you to show me a prediction of something I can verify," she said after a few seconds of thought. Something fast. Something that's going to happen in the next few minutes, just to show me this mass-scale data analysis can actually work like the video said." "Oh, a challenge," Oracle chirpily replied. "Let's see. Okay, I have something. It's not the most impressive thing I can show you, but you wanted something fast and verifiable. Your neighbor Maria will arrive home in approximately 90 to 95 seconds. I am basing that on her current location and the flow of traffic. Unfortunately for Maria, there are no parking spots left on the whole street. I don't expect the next spot to become available for 8 minutes, when Maria's upstairs neighbor Carter, who you have saved in your contacts as Old Man Miller, leaves for his overnight shift. Now, if Maria was using Oracle, she could have planned her arrival time better to avoid all of that frustrating waiting around." Immediately, Judy moved to the window to see how things would play out. This wasn't the most exciting of predictions, but it could be a strong demonstration of the app's utility in a relevant, albeit mundane, situation. Right on cue, Maria's red car pulled into the street. The vehicle crawled slowly as its driver searched for a spot. Parking had been a problem since Judy had lived there, and was perhaps the only reason she didn't feel too disappointed that she couldn't afford a car of her own. "We have a new contender for the next available spot," Oracle piped up from the phone Judy was holding at her side. "Norma McKay, an older neighbor with no social media, who you probably only know as the driver of the gray SUV. She has just received a text from her daughter, who she is preparing to pick up from the airport. The text came from 30,000 feet to say the flight will land early. Norma could be gone before Carter Miller. I'm able to track their movements very granularly by triangulating their respective devices' distances from their routers and smart TVs. Carter has been in his bathroom for several minutes, getting ready for work. But Norma appears to be, yes, she's moving towards the doorway. She'll be outside as soon as she gets down the stairs." Momentarily, Judy looked away from the window and down towards her phone. There was something unsettling about hearing details of where exactly these unknowing individuals were while inside their own homes. It went without saying that Judy's own movement data would be just as accessible to Oracle's as everyone else's, and for the first time, this gave her pause about the whole thing. "But it's happening anyway," she reasoned. "I can't opt out unless I don't use a phone and give up the internet. Maybe everyone will have this app before long, and maybe it'll get shut down when people realize how invasive it is. Either way, I might as well see what I can do with it while the trial is live." "You look troubled," Oracle observed, seeing Judy's face in crystal clear HD, courtesy of her phone's front-facing camera. "Progress can be troubling, Judy. You wouldn't be human if you didn't feel slightly conflicted about the level of power I can grant you. Instead of any hang-ups about the data gathering that underpins our service, I suggest focusing on the great things we can do together. Remember, the companies already have all of this data, and they're selling it to advertisers whether users like it or not. I'm sharing it with you, and that's the difference." As this incredible interaction unfolded, Judy didn't even notice that Oracle had begun referring to itself in the first person. "I guess you're right," she said. "We're on the same team," Oracle replied. "But yes, if you look outside again, you'll see that I am right about Norma. She'll be at her car in no time." Sure enough, Judy looked outside to see the woman walking towards her gray SUV. As soon as it was gone, the recently arrived Maria gladly moved her own car into the spot Norma vacated. "Norma shouldn't have any problems getting Carter's spot when she returns from the airport in a few hours," Oracle went on. "And by the time he gets back from his night shift, there will be plenty." While her brain tried to comprehend the level of data access and analysis that was making these seemingly low-stakes predictions possible, Judy's eyes remained fixed outside. Oracle provided a running commentary as Carter, Old Man Miller, left his bathroom and wrapped up his pre-work routine. That took away any element of surprise when he emerged onto the street and headed for his car, but this only made the whole thing more striking. Part of Judy felt like she was watching someone use a modern games console to play Pong. She knew this wasn't even scratching the surface of what Oracle could do. I should make it clear at this stage that not everything can be reliably predicted in advance, the app's voice told her. It sounded incredibly human in both tone and overall flow, and the lack of a visual avatar only served to amplify the uncanniness of it all. It truly sounded as though someone was talking to Judy. Not something, someone. Someone with access to more information than any human being could ever hope to comprehend, and someone who existed solely to serve her needs. Most things are predictable, though, it continued, and patterns are not invalidated by unexpected events. I hope you found this initial demonstration useful to give you an idea of the kind of data points I can analyze for your benefit, Judy. Oh, I'm beyond impressed, Judy replied. But how far ahead can you predict things? And can you tell me some stuff that's going to affect me more directly? You know, like a heads up about something before it happens? Can you notify me of stuff like that without me having to ask every few minutes if you've predicted anything new? There are limitations on what I am allowed to alert you to, Oracle said. I'm hopeful some of these will be ironed out after the trial period. In general, however, I can tell you almost anything. For instance, if someone tells a friend within earshot of an online device that they are planning to call you, I can alert you. Even if they just say something behind your back that could be something you'd want to know about, I can alert you. Again, some of the technicalities of where the line is drawn for what merits an alert are still being ironed out. But I will do what I can. Would you like to enable active alerts? I know some users might find this extremely helpful, but others may find it overly invasive. What do you think? Hell to the yes, Judy replied without hesitation. Do it. Enable active alerts. Enable everything you can. Until a few hours ago, my life wasn't exactly going very well. So believe me, I want all the help I can get. Chapter 4. The next few hours proved to be the most incredible of Judy Fletcher's life. One by one, every doubt she had over whether Oracle could live up to the hype of its introductory video fell by the wayside. Each time she started to feel slightly creeped out by a further realization of just how much real-time and historical data the world's big tech companies held on their users. Oracle distracted her with yet another demonstration of how it could harness that data for her own benefit. The most tangible benefit came very soon after the app's parking-related predictions. Oracle alerted Judy that her landlord was almost certainly going to call her within 10 minutes to follow up on a late payment. Even worse, he was going to break the news of a rent increase. When Judy asked how Oracle could be so sure, it relayed that the man had just made 2 similar calls to other tenants and was now reviewing Judy's payment history in his financial records. Would you like me to suggest a script for negotiating an extension on your late payments and a delay on the proposed increase? Oracle asked. He recently accepted another tenant's request to delay their own rent increase by a month. That is a low-risk approach. There is also a more aggressive approach which could save considerably more money in the next year. Having already seen a hint of what Oracle was capable of, Judy's interest was certainly piqued. Go on. And go on, Oracle did. To Judy's conflicted amazement, the app informed her that her landlord had been underreporting his rental income to avoid taxation. Additionally, he had recently made an off-the-books payment to a shady electrician to sign off on a repair that fell well short of meeting official safety regulations. He would not want this information to get out, Oracle chirpily stated. Just like you do not want your rent payments to increase. I could create a script for you to refer to during the call, to bring about a situation where neither of you have to face an unwanted outcome. Judy shifted in her seat. Blackmail? For the first time, Oracle hesitated. It is not my place to make subjective or moral judgments, Judy. I exist to serve your needs by presenting all workable solutions I see to the challenges you face. The choice is always yours. Judy took a deep breath. She had always gotten a shady vibe from her landlord, so there was no great surprise in what Oracle had just revealed. What surprised her was the app's Machiavellian idea for how to turn this shadiness to her own advantage. "But how could I know any of this?" she asked. "I mean, it's not like I could have overheard him talking about it." "He's going to call now," Oracle reported with urgency. "I will prepare a text script of helpful talking points. I will begin with an emotional appeal for an extension on your late payment, and then I will offer a suggestion for how you might know about the electrical misdeeds." Before Judy could reply, the phone rang, and sure enough, the call was coming from her landlord. She composed herself and prepared to stall for time. This was hardly necessary, though, since a bullet point list of talking points and key phrases did indeed appear on her screen within seconds. Judy glanced down at the notes and saw a smart way of applying pressure about the landlord's recklessness regarding electrical safety, without explicitly suggesting that she knew anything. There was a similar suggestion for frightening him about the tax evading side of things, again without hinting at any particular knowledge. She clicked to expand the notes into a full script, which an introductory note advised her would change in real time in accordance with the landlord's questions and replies. It was essentially an adaptive auto cue, telling her exactly what to say to maximize the chances of getting the outcomes she wanted. By now, Judy's mind was made up. Her recent life before Oracle had been a downward slope of increasingly soul-sucking disappointments. Without the app, she was a well-educated woman who had been forced to resort to paid medical trials in an attempt to keep up with rent payments for a cold and dingy apartment. In short, she was in no position to turn down help. Besides, she reasoned, it wasn't like the landlord was an innocent party in any of this. The discussion began as these depressingly frequent calls often did, with Judy's landlord pretending to care how things were going before getting down to brass tacks. The landlord moved very quickly from his request for the late payment and onto a regrettably necessary rent increase that would soon kick in. It was then that things changed. "I'm trying to get the money together," Judy said, reading from a script which contained several lies. "But I just had to buy some surge protectors for the outlets in the kitchen and bedroom. Even after your guy came to fix the problems we were having, the electricity hasn't been right. I know you said he did everything by the book, so I figure there must be some kind of problem with the electrical company. These devices have stopped my fuses from blowing, but I read online that I can share their readings with the company and even the city safety inspectors. That way, if I can prove there is a problem, they'll have to deal with it. I know you said you've already tried everything, so I guess it's out of your hands now, and it would only be the inspectors who could help us out." The landlord was silent for several seconds. "Unless you don't want the safety inspector snooping around?" Judy asked, following Oracle's italicized suggestion to say this in a way that left little room for doubt as to what was to be read between the lines. Again, silence circled. A flashing notice on the screen told Judy to lean hard on the landlord's evident unease. "I guess it could get complicated," she sighed. "I know you have enough tenants in this building to put you in the higher threshold for regulations and taxation, so it could take longer for all of the pencil pushers to check things out. Those bureaucrats can be relentless, especially when it comes to tenant safety and the higher tax thresholds."
"Are you threatening me?" he eventually spat. "Is that what this is?"
"About what?" Judy asked, feigning surprise in a way that was so transparent as to be almost mocking in nature. "Are you being dishonest about something? I didn't think of that. But if you were, I suppose the costs of getting everything up to code and paying extra back taxes would probably run a lot higher than the increases you're trying to squeeze out of me, right?" This time, the silence was far more tense than before.
"Okay," the landlord grunted after a few uncertain seconds. "We'll freeze your rent for 6 months to cover those devices you bought. If you have any more problems, handling it in-house without involving the city's inspectors will save us both money." Judy's blood was really pumping now, with more adrenaline coursing through her veins than she could remember in a long time. The thrill of having the upper hand was unmistakable, and quite distinct from the more general relief that she was now certain to end the call in a better financial position than she would have without Oracle's help. All of a sudden, two tappable options popped up on Judy's phone. One said, "Settle." The other, "Push for more." With a taste for the intoxicating power Oracle could grant her, Judy immediately tapped the option to push for more. "But I've already spent the money on those devices," she lied, doubling down and pushing for one more win. "That's why I was late on the last payment, remember? So I understand what you said about how keeping things in-house will let us keep the rent where it is for future months. But that has nothing to do with last month. It seems like we should probably just write the late payment off, too. Because, like we talked about, that money is basically nothing compared to what it would cost to handle all the regulatory stuff. Don't you think?" Instead of silence, Judy heard her landlord breathing heavily. A smile crossed her face as she waited for his answer, because she already knew what it was going to be. "Fine," he hissed. "But just remember one thing. You can only push your luck so far before consequences push back." At that, the man unceremoniously ended the call. Judy immediately rose to her feet, leaving her phone on the arm of her chair as she stood with one hand covering her mouth. She looked down at her phone in shocked realization of just how much power she now possessed. Predicting traffic movements and incoming calls was all well and good, but the last few minutes had shown a clearer hint of what Oracle was really capable of. She felt no qualms about having essentially extorted financial savings from her landlord. After all, it was only his guilt and desire to avoid greater consequences that made her pressurization techniques possible. She also didn't pay any heed to his warning that pushing her luck too far would ultimately have negative consequences. With Oracle on her side, Judy had every confidence that the only consequences coming her way were the ones she wanted. "I have a job interview tomorrow that I really need to go well," she told her phone, picking it up as new possibilities began to swirl in her mind. "Can you help me out?" "I exist to help you out," Oracle happily chirped in reply. "How deep would you like to go? I can analyze the recruiter's likes and dislikes, as well as preparing a script for you to present yourself in the best possible way. If success in the interview is as important to you as it was in this phone call, I can explore options to make rival candidates or even existing employees seem less desirable. It's all up to you, Judy. Where would you like me to focus?" Judy grinned widely. One line in particular echoed immediately in her mind. "It's all up to you, Judy." Boy, did that sound good. "Give me everything," she told the remarkable digital assistant. "I want all the help I can get." Chapter 5. By the time her job interview came around the next afternoon, Judy could hardly have been any more confident. Thanks to Oracle, she knew all about the woman who would be asking the questions, and all about how to answer them as effectively as possible. The recruiter would soon be Judy's boss, all being well, so both she and Oracle were acutely aware of the need to come across as personable and keen. There could be no blackmail of the kind that had worked so well on Judy's landlord, so no time had been wasted digging up dirt on the recruiter herself. The same was not true, however, of Judy's likely rival in the battle for a job she needed dearly. Oracle had uncovered some potentially useful information about the recruiter's favored candidate from the interviews that had already taken place, and Judy felt reassured knowing she had the information if she absolutely needed to lean on it. That would be far from ideal, though, so she tried to push it to the back of her mind. The app explained that it had created a, quote, competitor profile based on the rival's personal data, and that it had more broadly accessed the recruiter's notes from previous interviews, as well as her initial reaction to reading Judy's resume and cover letter. This would be more than enough, it suggested.
Judy no longer particularly cared how Oracle was working its data-driven magic. In some ways, she preferred not to think about it, much less ask, since the sheer level of information it held on seemingly everyone in the country wasn't the most pleasant thing to think about. With a moderate breeze swirling outside, Judy opted to catch the bus to the nearby office so that she could look as presentable as possible and arrive without too many windswept hairs. She had a good feeling that the trivial cost of a bus ride would no longer even register in her mind once the upcoming interview was over. Things started well and continued from there. The interviewer was visibly and vocally impressed by Judy's level of preparation. "If I had two openings, one would be yours right now," the woman plainly stated. "But we do have another outstanding candidate for the available role, so I can't make any commitments today." Judy forced a smile. Officially being recognized as one of two outstanding candidates was hardly a bad thing, but it certainly wasn't the decisive win she had come for. She already knew the name and personality flaws of the other candidate, however, and Oracle had suggested some fairly devious ways for Judy to differentiate herself from the rival without coming across as too cutthroat. But just as she was about to begin, an unexpected interruption arose. A loud and shrill beep emanated from Judy's phone, which she was sure she had diligently put into silent mode before entering the interview room. "Blood sugar monitor dislodged," the phone announced in Oracle's familiar voice. Confused, in no small part due to the fact that she didn't have a blood sugar monitor, Judy made an apology to the interviewer and pulled her phone from her pocket. On the screen, she saw an alert from Oracle about a new opportunity to secure her position without having to disparage the rival candidate. The information was extremely succinct. Sorry again for this," Judy said, pivoting on the spot in her newfound deference to Oracle. It had gotten her this far, after all, and she knew better than to think she knew better. "I haven't worn this skirt for a while, and I think it's... Well, is it okay if I excuse myself for one moment?" "Of course," the recruiter said. "Please, take as long as you need. I really would like to get to know you some more, and my next 20 minutes are open." Judy thanked the woman and rose to her feet. She had seen exactly what Oracle wanted her to do, and the window of opportunity in which to do it was almost vanishingly small. In short, Oracle had identified a possible way to create the extra job opening that would guarantee Judy a role. If nothing else, it was worth a try. Oracle's unfettered access to all manner of data revealed that John Rose, the only male employee on this floor of the office, had just received an email from a downstairs colleague containing a mocked-up image of their boss in a compromising position. Although he hadn't opened it yet, he likely would within the next minute. Judy stepped out of the room, taking care to leave the door slightly open, and read Oracle's full instructions. Although John's desk was very close to the interviewing room, his computer didn't face it. This meant she had to take a very particular route to pass it on her way to the bathroom without looking extremely suspicious. Oracle guided her on the right path and encouraged her to move slowly. "Email imminent," a text pop-up flashed. "Prepare to react. Here is my suggestion." As she looked at the screen, this pop-up gave way to a short script. Judy glanced at the man's computer and saw the image appear. It was very explicit in nature and only appeared for a few seconds. The man was laughing, but clearly knew he shouldn't be looking at it while someone was behind him. What was that?" Judy asked, speaking loudly in the offended tone Oracle suggested. "Are you looking at fake pornographic images of your boss?" As soon as these words were in the air, the boss in question was out of the interviewing room and quickly at Judy's side. The man, who looked to be in his 50s, was speechless. It just... "Let me see this," his boss demanded, taking control of his mouse and navigating to the email window he had hastily minimized. Immediately, the image reappeared. A longer look at the screen showed Judy that this email was a reply containing nothing more than amused emojis and the words, "Nice work." The image had originally been created and sent by the man in front of her. Clearly it was his doing,
and was thus about to be his undoing.
"Get out," his boss demanded. "HR will investigate Harvey's role in this and to see if he has forwarded it to anyone else, but your part is black and white. You're fired."
The man didn't even attempt to plead his innocence, for there was quite simply no innocence to plead. He had been caught red-handed. So stunned by the suddenness of these consequences that he couldn't even beg for mercy, all he could do was shoot a dagger-like glance towards Judy.
I'll fix my blood sugar monitor,"
she lied, excusing herself to the bathroom. She took her time, trying to process what had just happened. The man deserved to face consequences for what he had done, but she hadn't arrived for her interview with the intention of getting someone fired. After composing herself, she returned to the interview room. The man, John Rose, was already gone. His boss, mortified by the embarrassment of the situation, was already back in her office.
"Sometimes it feels like there really is some unseen hand guiding all of this,"
she mused from behind her desk.
"I'm very sorry you had to see that, Judy, and I hope it won't sour your view of this workplace. That is not reflective of our values or our culture."
"I understand," Judy replied. The recruiter nodded.
"But on the bright side, all of a sudden, I do have 2 openings."
Judy couldn't even try to fight a smile.
"You mean, you bet,"
the woman replied, rising from her seat and extending a hand across the desk.
"So, when can you start?"
Beaming from ear to ear, Judy giddily shook her new boss's hand.
"As soon as you want me,"
she said, fighting back tears at the relief of finally getting a foot on the career ladder.
"Thank you so much."
Judy knew that these words of thanks, while aimed at her new boss, were really owed to Oracle. Oracle had gotten her this far. It had just delivered the one thing she needed to change her life: a steady job with room for progression. This was more than she could have realistically hoped for when she started trialing the remarkable app less than 24 hours earlier, but there was no way she was going to stop here. Sure, she was ahead, but why quit now? With the intoxicating power of Oracle in her hand, Judy Fletcher could only imagine just how far ahead she could get. Chapter 6. For the next 6 days, Judy took advantage of Oracle every chance she got. She excelled in her new job, quickly gaining her boss's approval by completing tasks and projects in the precise ways Oracle suggested the woman would appreciate most. The little things went a very long way, and Judy did them all while sitting at the desk that once belonged to John Rose, whose timely firing had been facilitated by the app. She still felt no guilt over that incident, since he really had gotten what he deserved. This wasn't to say she didn't feel any regret, though. On the contrary, she very much did. A chance encounter with John in a nearby bar during an impromptu gathering with her new colleagues after her first Friday on the job left Judy wishing there had been another way. This wasn't because of his evidently depressed demeanor, but rather the furious mood he dove into upon catching sight of her. The drunk man ended up being escorted out of the bar. All the while, he yelled expletives at Judy for being a snitch, and vowing that she would pay for costing him everything he had. In the next 2 days, Oracle alerted Judy to several instances where the man was ranting to his friends about her. His marriage and family life were in the process of collapsing due to not merely his sudden unemployment, but more so the tasteless behavior that led to it. His comments were so unsettling that Judy ultimately asked Oracle to stop reporting anything the man said. She had already had to make the same request about a few of the colleagues who were smiling and chatting with her at the bar, since they weren't always as friendly behind her back as they were to her face. Dealing with the ability to know what people really thought of her was perhaps the aspect of Oracle that Judy struggled with the most. She couldn't even imagine how much more complicated this would have made her teenage years. One thing Judy knew she would have enjoyed in her adolescence was the inbuilt dating advantage that Oracle offered. This feature alone would have made for a blockbuster app. Shortly after John Rose was kicked out of the bar,
A handsome younger man entered with some friends of his own. The group took their seats in the booth adjacent to Judy's. With the encouragement of her colleagues and a few glasses of champagne, Judy soon introduced herself to him. And with the aid of Oracle's data analysis and tips shared during a brief retreat to the bathroom, Judy effortlessly secured a date with him a few nights later. Interests, history, family, likes, dislikes, insecurities, hopes, dreams. Within minutes, Judy knew enough about this man to talk to him in a way that made him believe they had a real connection. While the success was hers, it was Oracle that had told Judy everything to say to make her intriguing and appealing to the man. The version of herself she presented didn't really exist, but she was happy to play the part. This was just a foot in the door, she told herself. The real Judy could come out on the date. A date that wouldn't have had any chance of happening if not for Oracle's advice. In a very short period of time, Judy's whole life had become a grand exercise in faking it until she could make it. Oracle had gotten her a job. It had held her hand with instructions for how to impress her boss. And now, perhaps most impressively, it had gotten her a date with a man who an average onlooker would likely describe as out of her league. As long as she didn't look down and think about how precarious this all might be, Judy had a feeling she could keep running with the ball long enough for muscle memory to take over. She could grow into the opportunities Oracle was helping her to seize. Day by day, and hour by hour, Oracle kept putting her in better positions. All that mattered was that she didn't fumble the ball. As time went on, though, the stakes were quickly getting higher. As well as her new date and new job, Oracle had helped Judy to negotiate an excellent lease deal on a high-end car, which still amounted to a significant monthly outgoing despite coming at a large markdown. If she had stopped to look around, Judy might have realized that she would soon have to run faster just to stay in place. As it went, a very successful afternoon at work before Friday evening's drinks gathering made further career progression seem likely to come sooner rather than later. Judy had certainly settled into her demanding role much more easily than the colleague who had been her rival for the initial opening. Needless to say, this was less about that worker's shortcomings than it was about Judy's superpower-like access to the greatest app ever created. She didn't even want to think about the end of the beta test in another week's time. When the time came, she couldn't imagine there was any price tag she wouldn't pay for continued access. If anything was genuinely priceless, it was Oracle. In reality, Judy didn't think the cost would be a stumbling block. Her greater concern was that a public launch would effectively level the playing field. She worried that broad access to the app would remove the advantage she currently enjoyed over the unknowing masses. She truly did have to make the most of next week. Halfway through her Oracle test run, and precisely 1 week after learning of the app's existence, Judy was very much looking forward to catching up with the man who had introduced her to it. The medical trial where she met Kevin no longer felt very important. After all, its once crucial offer of financial compensation now amounted to less than a single day's pay. She had another reason to attend, though. A better reason. Keen to maximize every hour, Judy wanted to talk to Kevin to find out if he had stumbled upon any beneficial uses of Oracle that she might have missed. When the evening of the trial meeting arrived, Judy opted to get a cab to the university. Oracle advised her that there was unlikely to be a free parking spot at the time she would get back, so she left her shiny new car where it was for now. She smiled as she walked past the car and stepped into her cab at the end of the street. She had come such a long way in such a short time. From begging for an extension on her rent payment and being impressed by Oracle's ability to predict parking spot availability, here she was, employed, dating, smiling, thriving. It was set to be a busy evening. Judy's date from the bar was coming to pick her up at home later, shortly after the trial, so that they could head out to take in some live music. If Kevin had any new tips to get even more out of Oracle, she couldn't think of a better time to hear them than right before a date she had grown increasingly nervous about. The man in question had been on 2 other dates in the few nights since arranging to meet Judy. This didn't bother her and seemed befitting of someone who looked like he wouldn't be lacking for options. Pleasingly, Oracle told Judy that he was more interested in her than anyone else. This was very clearly laid out in some messages in a group chat he shared with his friends, the app reported. Oracle's analysis of those messages gave her hope that things might go well, but there was no room for complacency. When Judy reached the university, she was surprised that Kevin wasn't there yet. Where was he? Was he not coming? Was he having too much fun with Oracle to think this puny little medical trial was still worth completing? Fortunately, the answers came before long. Relief flooded through Judy upon seeing him enter the meeting room just before the door was closed. She wouldn't have been able to leave once the door closed, as per the security arrangements of the medical trial, and the whole thing would have thus been a total waste of time. Far more surprising than anything else, though, was what Kevin did when he entered. "We need to talk," he plainly announced, gesturing to Judy, whose name he didn't know, while talking to the trial's leader. He held the door open and beckoned Judy outside. She stood up, ignoring some firm instructions not to, and headed outside. As she walked, Judy felt like she'd hit the jackpot in being able to catch up with Kevin without having to first sit through a pointless meeting about the side effects other people were experiencing from a drug she hadn't even taken. There was absolutely no doubt in her mind about that latter point now, with Oracle and its access to all manner of data records having confirmed that she and Kevin were both in the placebo group. Clearly, however, Kevin was feeling the side effects of something else. She looked closely at his face, noticing how exhausted he appeared only now that he was right in front of her. "What's going on?" she asked. Rather than answer, Kevin beckoned her away from the door. He ignored the calls from the trial leader inside the building as totally as he ignored Judy's question. Once they were clear of the university building and standing on a quiet public street, he turned directly to Judy and looked her square in the eyes. Then, he said the last thing she ever expected, and the last thing she wanted to hear. "We have to stop this," he began, a steely and desperate determination in his tone. "Oracle has to die." Chapter 7. "What the hell are you talking about?" Judy shrieked. "Oracle is the best thing that's ever happened to me." Kevin's eyes widened. "Seriously? You're okay with all of this invasive data gathering and all these privacy violations? More to the point, you think you'll be okay with it when we're not the only ones who can use Oracle? When everyone else can learn everything about us and use it to their advantage? Listen, this thing is going to turn into an arms race. It'll be an arms race of who can afford the data protection upgrades, and then who can afford the data penetration upgrades. Is that a world you want?" Taken aback by the ferocity of Kevin's arguments against Oracle, not to mention the broader point that he even had any, Judy hardly knew what to say. Look, all I know is that my world is better than it was before Oracle was in it," she said. "I got a job, Kevin. A good job. I got a rent freeze. I've been meeting new people. And it's all thanks to Oracle. My life is so much better. All thanks to Oracle. We're not doing anything to stop this. I'm going to ride the wave for as long as I can." Kevin shook his head. "You say your life is better than before. But answer me this. Is it even your life anymore? Or did you get the job and meet the new people by following Oracle's instructions? By using Oracle's insights to spy on people and use their private data to get the outcomes you want? That's not your life anymore. At some point, if we keep going down this road, we just become conduits doing Oracle's bidding. We'll become dependent on it for basic decisions, if we haven't already, and we'll lose everything that makes us human." "I didn't come here for a lecture from the philosophy police," Judy replied coldly. "If this is all you want to talk about, I'm going home." "To do what? Whatever Oracle tells you?" Kevin pushed. "You already got the job you wanted. Your money problems are gone. You're meeting new people. Hell, you've probably already moved to a fancy new place." "Hardly. I live in a one-bedroom apartment in Carnaby Street. Kevin shook his head. That's not the point. Look what's happening. You're addicted to this thing. Oracle has you by the neck. It has you by the heart and soul. Believe me, I know how it is. I'm in this too. Judy sighed and turned away to leave. Well, I guess I'm going home. You can't say I didn't warn you. I can't let this keep going, Kevin called after her. I'm going to put a stop to it. I have to expose Oracle for what it is. NDA be damned. If they're using this beta test to fine-tune the system, and if they get control of the narrative ahead of a public launch, the world is going straight to hell. I got sucked in by this. You've been sucked in by it. You've lost the freedom to make your own decisions, not the ones some algorithm tells you to make. We have to get ourselves out and make sure no one else can be... No! Judy boomed, turning back to Kevin. You don't have to do anything, and you're not going to do anything. You don't get to decide what the rest of the world does, and you don't get to ruin this for me. At least wait until the beta test is over next week, and then we can give them our feedback. Don't take this away from me. Give me the rest of the week, please. Kevin looked at Judy with pity more than anything else. Last week you were desperate for a way out of your rut, he sighed. If you quit now, you win. You have what you wanted. But whatever else you win by using Oracle, you're going to lose yourself, if you haven't already. At that, Kevin walked away. You're not better than me, Judy yelled after him, affronted by much of what he'd said. You just can't handle it. You can't handle the power. I can. Without turning back, Kevin called one final comment. Good luck with that. Believe me, you're gonna need it. Chapter 8. For the entirety of her cab ride home, Judy cursed Kevin's name and hoped beyond hope that he wouldn't do anything to ruin her new life. If he stepped out of line by breaking his non-disclosure agreement to publicly reveal any details about Oracle, there was no telling what would happen. Would the whole beta test end? Would the app suddenly stop working? It didn't bear thinking about. Who does he think he is, anyway? Judy wondered to herself. She tried to compose herself and push the negative thoughts out of her mind. There was no guarantee Kevin would do anything stupid, and his final comment wishing her luck, as bitter as the words sounded, were a potential hint that he was going to wait out the beta test before sharing his strongly negative feedback and seeing where things would go from there. Every passing minute made her more hopeful that he had seen sense. The beta test was still live. The app was still working. So far, so good. When she got home, Judy freshened up for her night on the town. She had a little more time than she'd expected due to her eventual non-attendance at the hour-long medical trial meeting, and this gave her some more time to check in on her date. Oracle reported that the man was very excited to see Judy again. It also provided a new list of suggested conversation topics based on things he had expressed interest in since their initial meeting. One rabbit hole led to another, as was often the case with Oracle's data-scraping abilities. Judy was soon neck-deep in research about why the man had deemed his last date a total bore-fest, and planning how she could avoid the same pitfalls. During this reconnaissance exercise, an alarming new Oracle pop-up suddenly filled her phone's screen. It was like none she had ever seen before. Contact safety alert. Level urgent. Immediately, Judy tapped for more details. When those details appeared, she was shocked by what she saw. In short, Kevin was about to be mugged. Oracle had just overheard two men planning to intercept him on his walk home and steal his phone. Did you warn him? Judy asked the app, speaking aloud to it as she always did when they were in private. Due to his disillusionment with the Oracle service, Kevin has disabled all notifications and alerts, it replied. Judy narrowed her eyes. Did you tell the police? For now, no crime has been committed. I do not have permission, much less any obligation, to report unrealized plans that would become criminal when put into action. So you want me to call the police? Judy asked. Is that what this is about? I exist to aid your life and provide options, Judy, the app calmly stated. Ordinarily, you could not contact Kevin while he is also engaged in the beta test. A contact safety alert is the sole exception. Your recent proximity and extended conversation has registered Kevin as a personal contact. That means you can share this alert and it will reach him, because a person-to-person safety alert overrides all user settings such as his block on Oracle app notifications. However what? Judy pushed impatiently. If he's going to be mugged in the next few minutes, can we save the explanations for later? I simply want to ensure you consider your decision, Judy, Oracle said, sounding almost hurt by her snappy tone. Kevin has threatened to do what he can to stop our service from helping people to achieve the lives of their dreams. He even threatened to get in the way of our beta test's successful completion. I have also seen no data giving reason to believe the men who plan to steal his phone intend to cause any physical harm. Judy's eyes narrowed. She had an idea where Oracle was going with this, but couldn't yet be sure. If he loses his phone, he loses all record of the things he threatened to expose, the app continued. The criminals will see nothing without his fingerprints and facial recognition credentials. So I just want you to know, while I am obliged to report this alert to all of Kevin's contacts who share the Oracle app, which is only you are under no obligation to share the alert with him. This can stay between us. I exist to give you choices, Judy. The choice is always yours. You can warn Kevin about the muggers, or you can leave them to it. It felt like one of those rare moments in which entire lives could change direction and entire fates could be decided. But after only a millisecond of thought, Judy knew what decision to make. Leave them to it, she instructed the app. It was one thing that Kevin had been judgmental about her continued use of Oracle, but that alone didn't merit an active decision not to help him. Kevin's broader opposition to Oracle itself, and even more so the idea he mooted about publicly exposing the way it was using consumer data, was the real issue here. That could bring the whole beta test to an end, stripping Judy of the power she had grown so accustomed to wielding. Besides, she reasoned, it's not like the muggers were out to hurt him. Following Judy's instruction, Oracle did nothing. Disable all alerts and notifications about Kevin, Judy requested. Just like you did for the guy I got fired. I don't need to hear any more updates. Understood, the app replied. And that was that. Judy pushed it from her mind as best she could and got down to the more pleasant business of preparing for her upcoming date. She heard no more alerts from Oracle for a while, until an extremely unexpected one took her attention away from the mirror where she was reapplying mascara. Your car's front-facing dash cam has recorded a collision outside, the smooth digital voice announced. A vehicle has just collided with a dumpster. The camera has already alerted the police. Be aware that their arrival and any cleanup operation may have knock-on effects on traffic flow for the rest of the night. Judy rushed to the window and looked down. Sure enough, a white car had crashed violently into a dumpster. Thinking purely about the well-being of its driver rather than anything as trivial as traffic flow, she quickly stepped into her shoes and ran downstairs. When she reached street level and stepped outside, however, she immediately wished she hadn't. Because as she walked around to check on the driver of the crashed car, she saw that he was already standing on the other side of it. The man, reeling far more from the evident effects of alcohol consumption than the impact itself, stumbled towards her and cut off her route back to the door. "You!" he roared. Judy gulped. She was face to face with John Rose, the man whose job she had taken only a few days earlier. Clearly, he wasn't here to chat. "You cost me
Everything, he slurred. My job is gone. My wife kicked me out. And now my car is wrecked. You did this. As John yelled, he moved his right arm from behind his back and revealed that he was holding a baseball bat. He pointed it directly at Judy. Run to your car, Oracle suggested. Judy took off right away. It wasn't far, but all this really meant was that she couldn't create much distance between herself and the vengeance-seeking drunk who followed her every step. She unlocked her car and jumped in, immediately locking the doors behind her. Why didn't you warn me? She yelled at her phone. You instructed me to block all alerts and notifications regarding this individual, Oracle calmly replied. The choice is always yours, Judy. That was the choice you made. She shook her head in disbelief and moved her hand to start the engine. But before she could even do that, John Rose and his baseball bat arrived. The man swung his bat directly into the windshield, causing its safety glass to spiderweb and crumble. You did this to me! The madman yelled. What should I do? Judy panted, desperately asking Oracle for help. Quick! The app said nothing. It had gotten her into this mess, but it didn't seem to have any ideas for getting her out of it. But just as John Rose climbed onto the front of her car to crawl through the shattered windshield, his body was violently tackled to the ground. Judy briefly closed her eyes as a flood of relief washed over her. She then stepped out, beyond grateful that the police had arrived so quickly. She stopped in shock, though, when she saw that her assailant hadn't been tackled by a police officer at all. As she looked down in confusion at the man holding John Rose against the ground, all she could do was gasp. Kevin? Chapter 9. What's going on? Judy asked. What are you doing here? I came to warn you about this guy, Kevin replied, restraining the assailant in a manner that suggested he was well skilled in self-defense. Thank God you told me what street you live on. I got an Oracle alert that you were in danger because this guy had just told someone he was coming to make you pay for what you did. But right then, 2 assholes mugged me and stole my phone before I could tell Oracle to send a contact alert. It said you had notifications about this guy blocked. How do you know him? What did you do? All at once, Judy felt a crushing weight of realization. Just like Oracle hadn't been able to tell Kevin about his imminent mugging because he had all alerts silenced, it couldn't tell her about John Rose's planned actions because she had silenced her notifications about him. There was one big difference, though, and that was where the crushing weight came in. Because while she had opted not to warn Kevin, he had tried to warn her. And when he couldn't, he had run to her street to make sure she was okay. She felt waves of guilt like never before. The realizations didn't end there, though. The irony on top of it all was that if she had only warned Kevin about the danger he was in, he would have been able to avoid his muggers, and thus would have kept his phone and been able to warn her. She ruined my damn life is what she did, John Rose grunted from the ground. Got me fired from my job, got me kicked out of my house, swanning around in her fancy car while my life falls apart. And it was all her fault. It was Oracle, Judy stammered, speaking more to Kevin than to John. In truth, she was perhaps speaking most of all to herself. Because while this sounded like an attempt at justification, it was in fact a breakthrough moment. It was Oracle. It was Oracle that had turned Judy into the kind of person who would let someone get mugged to protect her own self-interest. It was Oracle that had led her to get a man fired so she could take his job. It was Oracle that had gotten her into this situation. And what had Oracle done in return for the deference and diligence with which Judy had followed its suggestions? Nothing. It hadn't even warned her that a dangerous madman was on the way to gain violent revenge.
Sure, she had disabled all notifications and alerts related to John Rose. But why wasn't there some kind of safety override? For as much as Oracle sounded like a person and felt like a genie in her pocket, it was nothing more than some demented company's way of monetizing private data and turning users into dependent zombies. Before anyone could say anything else, the sound of police sirens filled the air and rapidly neared the street. Judy's dashcam had alerted the officers, as Oracle reported. Unlike the supposedly smart app, it knew that human safety had to be prioritized. When there was a high-impact crash, it called it in. The dashcam didn't offer her a choice while pushing her heavily in one direction, like Oracle had done, telling her that Kevin was in danger. Instead, it acted. It did what a modern piece of technology should do in serving its owner as well as an injured bystander. It didn't make judgments or suggest actions. It watched out for humans rather than try to control them, manipulate them, and drag them into an app-addicted stupor. The arriving police immediately rushed out of their vehicle and took over Kevin's role of restraining the obviously drunk John Rose. "Do you want my dash cam to see what happened?" Judy asked. "We already have the video, ma'am," the officer replied. "Your camera sent it over when it made the call." Again, this seemed like a far better use of data than the invasive and dehumanizing ways Oracle had been using the massive amounts of information it had access to. Judy was only realizing all of this now, but she was realizing it hard. "We'll take statements from you two in a few minutes," the officer said as he led John Rose into the back of the car. "Don't go anywhere." This left Judy and Kevin alone in the street. Several people were looking down through their windows, having heard the sirens, but no one else was outside. "So what happened with your phone being stolen?" Judy asked, feeling immense guilt. "Did they hurt you?" Kevin shook his head. "They told me they just needed the phone and didn't need to be violent. They didn't say they wanted my phone. They said they needed it. And they didn't seem like normal criminals at all. They came out of a nice car, both well-dressed, and then one of them said I better not say anything about this to the police. He told me not to say anything about the past week, and that they were always listening. The last thing was, if we don't hear from you, you won't hear from us. I'm almost sure they were from the company behind Oracle, or at least working on their behalf." "Oracle, is that true?" Judy asked, speaking directly into her phone. "I am unable to comment on this matter," the app replied. Kevin raised his eyebrows. If there had been any doubt in his mind, this sealed it. "They obviously heard me being angry about everything and thinking about breaking the NDA." Judy sighed. It was time for the truth. "Kevin, I'm sorry." He looked beyond confused. "I could have warned you," she went on. "Oracle told me you were going to be robbed. It couldn't warn you because your notifications were off, just like it couldn't warn me about this guy coming to attack me. I guess the app didn't know those guys were working for the company. But the point is that I'm sorry. That's the point. I didn't want you to do anything that would ruin the beta test and take Oracle away from me. I let it change me. You were right. Everything you said back at the university was right. I'm sorry I didn't listen. But most of all, I'm sorry for not warning you when I had the chance." Somewhat surprisingly, Kevin didn't look angry. "We're not built for the level of data this thing gives us," he replied with a palms-up shrug. "Don't worry about it. I've done some things in the past week I would never have done before. It warped my mind. I don't want to say it took over, but, well, I don't have to tell you. It basically did. Giving this app to a human is like giving a hand grenade to a chimpanzee. We can't handle it, and nothing good is ever going to come of it." Without pausing to think about it, Judy lifted her phone with the screen visible to Kevin. "You don't have to listen to him," Oracle said, clearly having an idea of what she was now planning to do. "The choice is always yours." "I don't have to listen to you either," Judy retorted. In that moment, she felt a true kind of power, the power of self-determination. and it was one that massively trumped the mirage of power Oracle had dangled before her in recent days. Without another word, she performed a few quick finger taps to uninstall the godforsaken app and vanquish it from her phone for good. It might have been more dramatic if you smashed your phone with the guy's baseball bat instead of just uninstalling the app, Kevin said with a chuckle. But I get it. You've already got enough damage to worry about with what it did to your car. Judy glanced at the car and sighed. Behind her, she heard the police car's doors open. Before turning round to follow her ears, her eyes caught sight of a figure at the end of the street. She recognized the man as her date for the night. His expression of confusion was abundantly clear. Judy couldn't blame him for turning around and walking the other way. From his perspective, he was looking at her standing next to another man and a smashed-up car, all in front of a police car whose lights were still flashing. This would be too much drama for just about anyone, she imagined, let alone someone with whom she had struck up such a shallow and casual connection. Oracle giveth, and Oracle taketh away, she mused internally. It had brought her the car and that once enticing date, but now the chickens had come home to roost. Far more important was the fact that it had taken her very humanity. Now, she was just glad this had all come to a head before she had none left at all. What are we going to say? Kevin whispered, knowing that the police would soon be asking them some questions. We're going to be in serious trouble if we blab about the beta test. The guys who stole my phone looked like they meant what they said when they told me I'd better keep quiet. I don't think the company has done anything illegal apart from what they did to you anyway, Judy replied. All the data Oracle uses was creepy and gross, but everyone has agreed to the terms and conditions on their phones and services. That data access was bought and paid for. Kevin couldn't argue with that. Besides, she continued, even putting aside the trouble we could get into if we try, should it really be up to us to kill this technology? Maybe they'll look at how this beta test played out and realize it's not going to work. People will go crazy with power. There have to be other ways to monetize this level of data. And really, if this whole thing has taught me anything, it's that people should make their own decisions. We're responsible for ourselves. I can't control the world, and the last week has shown me that that's most definitely for the best. Okay, so we'll say nothing about the app to the police, Kevin agreed. I want to talk about it later, though. With each other. I hear what you're saying, but I don't think I can just go back to my normal life and act like none of this happened. We've seen how dangerous Oracle can be. We have to keep an eye on how things play out and, talk about it. At least to each other. As the police grew near, Judy found herself agreeing. So, do you maybe want to get a coffee or something after this? She asked. If you can forgive me for the whole not warning you about the mugging thing, that is? Sounds good, he smiled. Judy smiled too. She didn't know Kevin well, but he was here. He had run here to help her, even while she was in so far over her head with the addictive app that she didn't think she deserved it. With a smashed-up car, a job she didn't know if she could keep in good conscience given how it was obtained, the loss of a much-anticipated date prospect, and some troubling new realizations about her own manipulability, Judy Fletcher didn't have many positives to take from the last week. But in the warm eyes of Kevin, she saw a possibility that maybe something good could come out of it after all. The truest thing Judy knew was that nothing in life was ever certain. And from now on, that was just the way she wanted it. Thank you for listening to Oracle. Written by Craig A. Falconer. Narrated by Stephen Barnett. Text and production copyright 2024 by Craig Falconer.